What is up, guys? This is Fern here with a little video which is going to show you how to make your animations a bit more realistic in a sort of step-by-step sort of way, form, shall I say. So I'm just going to get straight into it. So first of all, you want your basic animation and models set up. So you want to input your models, animate them the best you can. Don't worry about anything else, just the main part of the animation. For this instance, it'll be my fighter jet. And I've got a character in there. It's first-person view and all that stuff. And I've added a reflection on the windows as well. I don't know if you can see it because of the white background, but you'll definitely see it later on as we add our further scenery and lighting as well, all that stuff in. So once we've got our animation set up, you want to import scenery. And you can either do this either way. You can put the scenery in, then put your animation in, but I find doing the animation first and then importing it into a scenery, and then you can group the animation together, size it up to fit your scenery. Because fitting a scenery to an animation is a bit difficult than fitting a little fighter jet to a scenery, if you know what I mean. Always have the smallest thing fit to the biggest thing, not the biggest thing to the smallest thing, if that makes sense. But yeah, so I've added myself a scenery in here, which is the island, and it's actually got the base of the sea as well. But we'll add our water and our lighting later on. So, once we've got the scenery in, we go to the next step, which is add water. And that's basically another plane with a water texture on top. Now, it doesn't look anything like an island with water yet, but it all comes down to the next step. That's the thing. Lighting. A big key in a big key area in animation is lighting. You need lighting, or otherwise it will not look great. For example, this is before and this is after. The difference lighting has made. Now, on the exterior of the jet, it has natural light, sunlight. It has natural shadows as well. It has a bit of atmosphere, a bit of fog, a bit of clouds, like horizon fade, just to make the scene look a bit more realistic, as it would in real life, to be fair. And I've also added some external lights, as you can see here. I don't know if you noticed the difference, but the dials have increased colour a bit more brighter, just so we can see what we're looking at inside of the jet. Even if it's a little bit, it'll always help. That's how I think anyway. It may increase render time, but I'm happy to increase that render time to 48 hours for 8 seconds. As long as I know it'll look goodish, or look better, shall I say. I'll always do that, definitely. From now on, I don't care how long the renders are, I'll make my animations like that. And I suggest to everyone you do the same, unless obviously you're just beginning, which is totally understandable. I mean, this is sort of for a beginner anyway. I mean, it's all thrown at you. You've got to do lighting, you've got to do that. But it's how you do those things that makes it good. But with time and practice, you'll get better at all those things, definitely, for sure. So now we've got the lighting set up, and the next thing we'll add is a mask. Now, this is optional. If you're doing a first-person animation, what is your character, basically? For example, mine's a fighter pilot. Now, if you get a picture of a fighter pilot, they always have a mask on, which has like oxygen tubes coming from their masks down to their ventilation oxygen tank or something like that. Because obviously they're up in mid-air and you're flying at high speed, so you need to have that oxygen. So you think, if you're looking first-person view and you've got that helmet on, might have a bit of dirt on your mask. So that's basically what I've added here. It's just basically an overlay which just stays there. I don't need to animate or anything, because wherever the eyes move, that would follow with my eyes, if you get me. Because now I've moved the camera and that in Cinema 4D, but just placing something on is like just putting something on the eyes. I don't know how to explain it, because it's the eyes that are moving. You don't need to put anything. You don't need to move it as well, because the eyes do all the work, if that makes sense. But and that's all done in Cinema 4D, and I added this in After Effects. Just a separate picture, brought the opacity down a bit, set it to screen so we remove all the black and make it a bit more transparent. And that just increases the the realism of this scene as well. Now, I don't know if you can see on the left window, just above the island, you can see reflection. I'd always suggest doing stuff like reflections and that, because if you're if you've got glass and you're just looking through and you see just what you see outside of the jet, it's like, that's good, Then if you see the reflections of what's inside the jet, e.g. the cockpit in this example, it's just like, oh yeah, that looks nice. Although you don't notice it when you look at videos. That's the thing. You watch a video and you think, oh, that's nice. It's only when you look back, what made that nice? And you proper eye squinting looking for it. And you think, ah, it's the reflection. But the thing is, when people watch the video for the first time, they won't notice it. They'll just look at it and think, that was fucking amazing. You know, all these good, like, little things all into one to make it so, like, a bit more realistic. They'll think, wow, that was pretty good. And that's why I always enforce doing the little things, because even the little things all together will make something big, if that makes sense to you guys. But yeah, that's the 6th step. If we go on to the next one, this is just basically a bit of colour correction in After Effects. What I've done here is I added an adjustment layer, which is just above this scene, or this file in After Effects, and I added brightness and contrast from like effects, color correction, brightness and contrast, and then I added a bit more brightness, bumped that up a bit, and then brought the contrast up a bit as well. It's all good bringing the contrast in, but the more contrast, the darker it gets. So that's why I added a bit more brightness, just to keep the contrast but brighten it up slightly. And then I got a bit of color curves. Added a bit more contrast through that, only slightly, and then I added a hue and saturation, which with that I brought the saturation down a bit to make it a bit more black and white and not colour in your face. I thought I always like that colour correction, bit of saturation down, bit of colour curves, bit of contrast. It looks quite nice in my opinion, and that's what I've got here. And it also brings out the reflections more, it brings out the mask, and I just think in general it looks quite nice. So, last little step is add your black bars. That can easily be done by going in After Effects. So go to, what is it? Yep, layer, new, solid. I'm just thinking this off the top of my head. So you go layer, new, solid. Make it black. Click, make it the comp size. Click OK, and then you've got a full black screen. Then you go to Effect. Whilst having this new solid selected, go to Effect, Transition, and then click CC Jaws. And then what you want to do is you want to bring the height down to 0, and then I don't know, I think it's complexion or something like that. It's at the very top, 0 to 100%, and bring that up until you're happy with wherever your black bars want to be. And that basically just gives it a more cinematic film type look, widescreen. It just improves it in general. If I was going to choose to have black bars or not, I'd always have black bars, just because it looks nice, in my opinion. So, now that's done, come to the last slide, which I have just created very quickly, and I'm just going to run through it with you. I think I've pretty much run through most of it for you, but I'm just going to quickly run over it again. So it says things to focus on to make your animations amazing. So, for example, for characters, finger movements. If you're going to do a first-person animation, animate the fingers, even if it's slightly. I've seen so many animations where they've animated the arms and hands, but not the fingers. It depends really what animation you do. You can sometimes get away with it, but I'll always encourage you to do finger movements. It just makes a hell of a difference. If you had an animation of one without finger movements and with finger movements, you'd definitely choose the finger movements, because you do see the difference, you really do. Background props and objects. Oh, I spelled that wrong there. Pobjects. So characters. If you've got a scene, have just some background characters sitting down on a chair or something. Animals, birds. I don't know, something in the background. A dog. I'm going to try and do an animation where, like military animation, maybe for a montage where I'm going to involve dogs. So Call of Duty dogs. I can't remember what the dog's name is. Rex, I think it is. Do a little animation with a dog, a guard dog, military dog. You know, no one's done it before. So adding all this stuff in, I think actually that's quite good. You know, because it's not just characters. We've seen characters all before. You've got an animal in there. You know, little things like that. Just build your scene up with everything you possibly can. And then wild objects is, you know, if you're going to do a scene where in the street, do a bit of rubbish on the floor, do bins, do, you know, all that stuff. Just like, think of your scene. I've done an airport. I don't just do a runway. I add hangars. I add extra aircrafts. I build hills. I do all that stuff. Just world objects. If you understand what I mean by that. Anyway, we've run through reflections. Always do reflections if you can on glass or water. They're the main ones, because they'll also bring out the oomph in your animation, but you may need lighting in order for that to work. And if we go on to the next one, which is lighting, always add exterior and interior. For example, the animation that I just showed you, well, the animation screen grab that I just showed you, I had the exterior light, which was all the natural sunlight in that, and I added separate interior light to brighten the cockpit up as well. I'd always suggest doing that because you're going to have different lighting in different areas, so you need to sort of control that in order to make your animation look how you want it. Although you could just keep it on the exterior and just use it as natural sunlight, but in a cockpit you'd have a bit more lighting as well to brighten it up, like the LEDs on the buttons and that. But you know, that is quite advanced, adding LEDs and that into an aircraft. I might do a tutorial on that. I might give it a go actually if I can figure out how to do it. So first person animations, masks, as I showed you, I added that dirt mask on just to create more realism to it. That's not always necessary though. What I say by move everything, for example bones, when you're doing character animation, I've said this many times, always move every single bone in the body, even if it's minimal, you know. If it is a little movement, it all adds up in the end. I've seen some people move the legs and not move the body, or if they do, they move the lower body and miss out the middle and upper body. Even if you move the middle and upper body, it just creates the shoulder movements and all that. It just, you can see it once it's done, but when you're doing it, you can't. So it's quite a tricky thing to get sort of mastered, but with the practice and that, it should be fine. And again, with objects, if you got I don't know, your world objects, you might want to animate them so your whole scene isn't static. You got an animating scene that sort of creates the atmosphere as well for it being realistic. And what I mean by same textures is the colour of them. If you have several models, one bright as hell model and one not so bright, just go into Photoshop and you can edit them, add a bit of saturation, bring it down a bit, make it a bit more black and whitish, you know, bring the colour down just so they match, and then that will help you in the final colour correction at the end if you so wish to add in After Effects or anything like that. Because if you have all different colours and you bring it into After Effects and try and fix it that way, it could be a bit tricky. So yeah, and then it's by me for editing. So I hope you like this video, guys, and I hope it helped. But that's how I do my animations. In that step, I had the model, then the scene, and the lighting, and then I build it up like that. That's always the easiest way to do it for me, and I hope it will help for you as well, guys. So please like and comment and share as much as you can, because hopefully this video can help a lot of people. So I'll see you in the next video, guys. Peace.